On this episode, two system integrators go head-to-head at several different price points. All that and more on this episode of System Integrators Weekly.
Let's go, nerds!
Hello everyone, I'm Braethorn. Welcome to System Integrators Weekly, where we're excited to say that we've got some pretty exciting hardware news, and also something we haven't done in a while, which is a system at every price point, but not quite every price point, and I will explain that to you soon. This video is sponsored by VIP CDK Deals, the best place to go when you want to get yourself an OEM Windows license to get rid of that annoying watermark and unlock all the customization Windows has to offer. So instead of paying well over $100 for a retail version of Windows, you can get an OEM key for a fraction of the price. Plus, you can use my code BRAE25 to get a nice fat discount off of the already discounted price. Keep in mind that this is an OEM key that gets attached to this system and cannot be used with another one or if you change your hardware. Make sure you get the right key for your operating system. For more information on how to use CDK Deals, click the link in the description saying here's how it works, and I'll walk you through the whole thing. Thank you, CDK Deals, for continuing to support the channel. Really quick, a little bit of hardware news. I'm not going to linger on this too long, but if you're new here, this is System Integrators Weekly. We talk about mostly pre-builts from system integrators like your iBUYPOWER and CyberPower PC and Main Gear, companies like that, rather than OEMs like Dell, Alienware, HP, Omen, things like that. So yeah, that's what we do here. However, I also like to throw in hardware news as I can to kind of keep you guys up to date with what to look forward to, and kind of, if you don't watch all the videos that I do, just kind of keep you up to speed. Now, in the last couple of episodes, I've been talking about the 3D V-Cache chips from AMD, which is going to be an update to their 7000 series Ryzen processors and giving them the 3D V-Cache that they did for the 5800X 3D. But we didn't have an exact release date and an exact price, and we do now. So right here, you see we got the Ryzen 9 7950X 3D, which is the highest end chip that's going to then be in their product stack for $699, coming out February 28th. Also coming out February 28th is the 7900X 3D at $599, so that's a $100 price difference. What you'll be able to do pretty much is either choose between the 7900X 3D or the 7950X non-3D chip at around that price, and that does make things a little bit more difficult. But if you prioritize gaming, you're going to want to go for the X3D chip. Of course, 7800X 3D, not coming out February 28th like these are, but April 6th. Yeah, over a month later. Now, things have been a bit rough for hardware manufacturers when it comes to sales. Whole recession thing kind of has something to do with that. People buying fewer luxury products. And seeing that, of course, the answer from both AMD and NVIDIA when it came time to launch their GPUs was to focus on the highest end of the market and completely ignore bringing next-gen tech to the mid-range and budget portions of the market. It really is a good thing that Intel came out with their driver updates for the Arc GPUs. The A750 is just tearing it up in the reviews, and of course, by extension, the A770. They reduced the A750 down to $249. You're talking about some really compelling 1080p and even 1440p gaming performance and DirectX 9 games like CSGO, which they talked a lot about. We're not going to be seeing any budget or mid-range GPUs with the new architectures for a little while still, so that was unfortunate. And sales didn't do well because of that. There was a lot of sort of, disappointment within the gaming community and buyers in general, and a lot of cards stayed on shelves. So clearly learning from that situation, AMD chose to take their more accessible CPU, the 7800X 3D, and make you wait an extra month plus. One of the most exciting things to me personally about these X3D chips is that you're taking a platform that has a lot of future upgradability, and you are now making it probably jump to the top of the charts when it comes to gaming benchmarks. That's mostly what you see here on YouTube. You'll see gaming benchmarks. You'll see productivity, of course, as well. But really, that's probably still going to stay in the realm of 13th gen Intel when it comes to topping those charts. That's just, they have lots of cores. If you're above a certain level where you're looking at maybe $2,000 plus, $2,500 plus, anywhere above that, you now have a date to wait for. You should wait for these to come out for third-party independent reviews to come out for them to really see whether you should go Intel or AMD here. Now, we're looking at two system integrators at multiple price points, under $1,000, between $1,000, $1,500, and then $1,500 to $2,000, and then just above $2,000. We're not going to go much above that because, again, if you're much above that, you should hold off. But before that, we should go over some disclaimers really quick. This video is being filmed for February 6th, 2023. Any pricing and availability that you see here can change, and it can change rapidly. But if you see something you like and you want me to help you find something similar at a similar price, come to the stream. I stream every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at around 8 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/Brayathorn, and I help people one-on-one. If you're like, hey, all those videos you're making, that's cool and all, but I think I need a little more help than that, I will help you personally. Just come to the stream and drop a follow, jump in the queue. Let's get that going. The next thing is that you'll hear some opinions here, and that's totally normal. And if your opinion differs, that's also totally normal. Let's discuss it. Drop your comments in the comment section below, and politely let me know why I'm wrong. And of course, last one, you're buying at your own risk. This is not financial advice. If you buy something and then you get either someone who's having a bad day on the phone when you call in for customer service or whatever, we're all human, right? It's not on me. That's just what it's like when you buy stuff. Anywhere, anytime, that's how that goes. So the two companies we're looking at these different price points are going to be Skytech Gaming and iBUYPOWER, two companies that I've talked about a lot. And what we want to see right now, at this moment, is how they compete with each other at specific budgets. We're not looking at these PCs at bestbuy.com or amazon.com or any other third-party retailer. We're looking at the actual system integrator's website. I've gone over that a whole bunch. It's what I recommend rather than getting from a third-party seller, buy directly from the company that is building your PC. First, let's look at the price point that is under $1,000. Now, for Skytech, we have a system here that is the Nebula, and the Nebula has an Intel i3 12100F and an RTX 3050. Okay, so 3050, very strong card for 1080p gaming. Not anything you'd want to use like competitively necessarily, unless you're just getting into that. But you also have NVENC encoding on here. It has a lot of the hallmarks of 30 series cards. Now remember that the CPU and GPU are not the only parts you need to make a full computer. Okay, we're looking at the so the case is the Nebula from Gamdias. I don't actually know the right way to say that name, but we have an actual mesh front panel with RGB and everything, and of course I mentioned the RGB because that's the most important thing. But the second most important thing is going to be airflow. This is not really that hot of running of a system. It's not going to generate that much heat, but it's just going to be able to run at its peak performance more and last longer. So it's not just about performance, it's also about longevity, and it's on a B660 motherboard. So if you were to upgrade this to say a 12600K or even a 13600K, if there's a K in the processor name, that means that it's unlocked and you can overclock it. And this motherboard, though, doesn't support that. It would have to have a Z there, a Z690, Z790, that kind of thing. Does have, though, even at this price point of $899.99, 16 gigs of DDR4 3200 running in dual channels. In this, we have a 600 watt 80 plus gold power supply that is fine for the combination of a 12100F and the 3050. To be clear, the 12100F is a very solid gaming CPU. A 500 gig M.2 drive is what you get with this, and that's not great for starting out. I mean, you're talking about just a couple games and this thing is full. Thankfully, though, it's really easy to upgrade your storage. This one does have AC wireless, which is a previous standard for Wi-Fi. You would want AX now or AXE, but still, you have Wi-Fi included. And of course, any motherboard is going to have Ethernet, so you can plug in to have hardline internet. If you're doing any competitive gaming, that's typically what you'd want to go with. Yeah, this is a solid system coming in at $899.99. Here's one caveat though. It's not actually that price. So you can use code SWARM, SWARM, at Skytech, and you can get more off of that deal right there. And there you go. To keep an eye on coupon codes that we have for our community, join the Discord, which is linked in the place where links are always at in videos on YouTube, right down there in the description. And join the community and check the channel that is helpfully named coupon codes, and we got you. Now, the competing system with this from iBUYPOWER is going to be the Gaming Ready SLHBG 219. It's pretty similar. 12100F, 16 gigs DDR4 3200, RTX 3050, 500 gig M.2 drive, B660 motherboard. However, if you were to say upgrade your GPU in this one and it generates more heat, you're going to have a better experience with this because it has better airflow. Whereas this one here, it doesn't quite. Now, there will be an answer for that in a few months on the Gear Store for iBUYPOWER, because they're going to have a mesh front panel that should fit right onto this case, just like pop right onto it to replace this one. And for this one, power supply 600 watts. I mean, we're looking at a very similar system. However, this one's $100 more. And we're supposed to get one very soon, but we don't have a coupon code yet for iBUYPOWER. So in this one, we're going to say the Nebula from Skytech wins it. Let's go. There we go. Now, going slightly above that, you can get quite a bit of value out of that. So I have actually reviewed this system right here, the Azure. And that review is right here if you want to check that out. But surprisingly, very good airflow out of this case. It runs all exhaust fans, gets a ton of intake from the bottom, which is filtered, and the temps were awesome. Temps were great. But this is actually slightly different because instead of having a tower cooler, this uses a 240 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. That's cool. That's something they've added in. However, everything else is the same as what you see in that review, where you get the 3 Skytech RGB 120 millimeter fans, B660 motherboard, 16 gigs DDR4, 3200, an RTX 3060 Ti. So you see what I'm getting at, right? A couple $100 more, right? A few $100 more before the discount, and you get a 3060 Ti, which means you are comfortably gaming at 1440p at pretty high frame rates, depending on the type of game you're playing and your game settings. But the 12600K and the 3060 Ti are a very potent combination. The one downside here is that this is a B660 motherboard, meaning you cannot actually go in and overclock that 12600K. It'll still boost, and it'll boost for as long as it can thermally without any kind of timer to make it stop boosting. However, the 12600K, you still benefit from having that over something like a 12400 because, or even the 12600 non-K, because those lose the 4 efficiency cores that make this thing a great all-arounder. This one bumps you up to a 1 terabyte M.2 drive, which is double a half terabyte. And of course, the 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply. Now, this is an interesting system right here. Another system from Skytech at the price point of around $1,100. And this one is a Blaze 3.0. You take a downgrade on the CPU down to a 12400F, but with this one, you get an Intel Arc A750. And that's the one that you've been hearing about. If you've been watching any hardware news kinds of things, there were recent driver updates that made the Arc cards, the Arc GPUs, much more performant in older game engines and with some performance boosts to newer game engines as well. So if you've been thinking you want to get yourself one of those new Intel GPUs, now that they're starting to perform better, this is a good option to get in on that. Plus, this actually also gives you a 1 terabyte M.2 drive. You get a 600 watt power supply, so it's a step down on that. But, it's just another option that's available there. So what does iBUYPOWER have at this price point? Well, to me, it's not quite as compelling. It has some benefits of its own, but this to me is not that well spec'd out of a system. Now, the 5600X, the AMD Ryzen 5600X processor is a great processor. And then they have a Radeon RX 6600 XT, which, to be fair, will beat out the 3060 Ti in quite a few benchmarks, unless you throw on ray tracing or unless you want to stream or do any kind of encoding, that kind of thing. It's great for rasterized graphics, and it's just not great at those other two things. Plus, the storage solution is dumb. I don't like it. It's a 500 gig M.2 drive and then a 1 terabyte mechanical hard drive. Like, your load times are going to suck on that. Like, it's going to be bad. Yeah, I don't really recommend this one. Another one at this price point or right around it is, again, a 5600X, but this one's with a 3060 Ti right there. And still, I mean, look at this, 5600X versus a 12600K. You could upgrade this to 13th gen. 5600X, you're stuck with that same generation of CPUs. Plus, this has a 3060 Ti as well for less money. Plus, I have a discount code for it. So yeah, I'm going to say that Skytech wins this one as well. What we're going to do now is look at something at a higher price point and something kind of interesting. It's interestingly priced, that's for sure. But here you get to upgrade to a 13600K with a Z690 motherboard. And the 13600K is bonkers, guys. It is such a good CPU. In a high airflow case, yes, this is a mesh front panel and a 240mm AIO, yada yada. But this has the Intel Arc A770. A770 is the top of the line Intel GPU. And yeah, it benefits, of course, the same as an A750 when it comes to those driver updates. So 1TB M.2 drive, 750 watt power supply. And if you want to really jump into that ecosystem and get the top of the line A770, there you go. There's your option. But at $1699, I would probably go this route instead. This is the iBUYPOWER, another Slate Hako MR case here. And this one you can, on these cases, by the way, until they come out with the mesh replacement one that you can buy individually, you can just pull off that front glass panel if you're having any thermal issues, and then you're good to go. But as for the parts themselves, this has a 13700KF and a 3070 rather than an Intel Arc A770. This, to me, clearly the better value. Z690 motherboard, 1TB M.2 drive, and 16 gigs of DDR4 3600. But if you're looking for a massively performant 1440p gaming machine, this is it right here. Even entry-level 4K is within reach. Now let's move up the food chain here in price. We're going to look at a system here that is $2199. Now, what do you get for $2199? Well, you still get that 12600K. What? That's weird. It's a lot more money. Well, it's because it comes with an NVIDIA RTX 4070 Ti. We're all pretty upset over the price hikes from previous generations. You know, it's still a really solid card, beats out the 3080 in most gaming benchmarks pretty easily. Still has a high airflow case, but you're still also looking at a B660 motherboard with this. This should be a Z690 at this price point. And it shouldn't be 16 gigs of RAM, it should be 32 at this price point, I would hope. But the 4070 Ti is pretty expensive, so take what you can get, I guess. And then let's look at the option at around the same price from iBUYPOWER. This one has a 13900KF and a 3080. It's very unlikely that you specifically need a 13900KF. Drinks power, it puts out a lot of heat. Thankfully, you're looking at the very nice Y60 case here from Height, and it's got great cooling in there. Still, 2150, still 16 gigs of RAM. Guys, DDR4 is not that expensive. This should be, considering you have a 2TB M.2 drive, a 3080, and a 13900KF, you really want to keep it at 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure who spec'd that out, but I politely disagree with that. The other thing here, of course, is going to be the power supply. So typically, NVIDIA recommends a 750 watt power supply for any system that has a 3080 in it. However, those numbers were given out before 13th gen Intel hit the scene, and that 13900KF will just gobble up power. I mean, it can run very high wattages, and that generates a lot of heat, uses a lot of power. I would like to see at least an 850 in this, but that's still, the 750 is meeting the minimum recommendation, and your system will rarely come even close to going over 750 watts. It's just for when it does, you kind of want to have that. Of course, it has a Z690 motherboard and everything. It is DDR4 at this price point too. I feel like this is when DDR5 should be becoming a thing, and I think it's probably because of the 13900KF's pricing. They're really trying to get you biggest CPU and GPU for the price that you can get. So, but between these two, basically, it's going to come down to what you want. Is this a multi-purpose machine or is it a gaming machine? If it's a gaming machine, consider the Siege 4 because of that 4070 Ti. Okay. Yeah, I would say that for the price point of right around $2,000, iBUYPOWER wins this one. If only they would put a beefier power supply in there, it would make me happy. Now, I know this is a pretty short episode, and I still don't have a giveaway roundup for you guys. I'm still sort of working out the details on that, on trying to get consistent updates from people or companies that are doing giveaways, but I will be getting that for you guys. That's my intention in 2023, to get you guys entered in as many giveaways as possible, because they're usually free and they're fun. You know, if you don't win, it's not the end of the world. You can always save up, still buy a PC, but it's just, you know, if you don't play, you can't win, right? But I actually don't have much more to go over in this episode. I narrowed those down for you, told you which one I think was the most interesting at each price point, and if your price point wasn't that, if it's higher and you're not wanting to wait for 3D V-Cache chips, or if it's somewhere in the middle of some of those and you want to see how much more you can squeeze out of that budget, come on by the stream. Again, every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be there at twitch.tv/Braithorn, helping you guys one-on-one with giving you recommendations based on your budget, your needs, the questions you're going to answer, because you got to give me info before I can give you an accurate recommendation. I'm actually going to cut it off kind of early on this one, try to get shorter videos out this time. And 2023, we're going to try to be more concise, get you guys more content that is not as... I like to talk. If you want to hear me ramble a lot and you're going to miss those longer videos, we'll still have some of those, but you can also just come to the stream. I talk about PCs for hours there. It's awesome. That's going to do it for this episode. Check the links in the description below. Be sure to, you know what, drop a like and subscribe probably, because channel's growing, content's growing, big things coming soon, and I'll see you guys on stream soon. And until then, take care.